Dearest soul, you know that quiet moment when everything seems like it's finally lining up for you, and yet something inside you hesitates? Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a subtle pause, almost invisible. That hesitation might feel like caution, like maturity, like you're being realistic. But in truth, it could be the very thing quietly draining the life out of your progress. Let me explain. There's a pattern many people fall into without even realizing it. On the surface, they're optimistic. They set goals, they dream big, they take steps forward. But underneath all that, there's a second layer running in the background, a quiet contingency plan for when things go wrong. It's not something they talk about openly. It's more like a whisper in the mind, just in case this doesn't work out. And that whisper seems harmless, even wise. After all, life has probably given you enough reasons to be cautious. Maybe you've trusted before and been disappointed. Maybe you've invested time, energy, or love into something that didn't return what you hoped for. So now, your mind has learned to protect you. It builds invisible safeguards, backup options, emotional exits. You tell yourself you're just being practical. But here's the uncomfortable truth. When you prepare for failure while trying to succeed, you divide your power. Think about someone trying to climb a mountain while constantly looking for ways to climb back down. Every step upward is accompanied by a calculation of retreat. That split focus changes how they move. Their steps are slower, less certain. They don't commit their full strength to the climb because part of them is already rehearsing the descent. That's what happens internally when you hold on to a backup plan out of fear rather than strategy. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine someone starting a business. They're excited. They've got ideas, energy, maybe even some early momentum. But at the same time, they keep telling themselves, if this doesn't work, I'll just go back to my old job. So they never fully invest. They hesitate to take risks that could move things forward. They second-guess decisions. And when challenges come, and they always do, they retreat faster than they would have if they had no fallback. It's not that backup plans are inherently bad. In certain situations, they're necessary. But when your backup exists because you don't trust your ability to succeed, it becomes a limitation rather than a safety net. Now let's zoom in even deeper. Your mind doesn't just respond to what you say, it responds to what you believe. And when you hold two conflicting beliefs at once, I want this to work and it probably won't, your system gets confused. Your actions become inconsistent, your energy becomes scattered. It's like trying to drive a car with one foot on the accelerator and the other on the brake. You'll burn fuel, you'll hear the engine working, you'll feel movement, but you won't actually go very far. And over time, that creates a different kind of problem, exhaustion. You start feeling tired, not because you're doing too much, but because your effort is pulling in opposite directions. Part of you is pushing forward, while another part is holding back. That internal tension drains you more than any external challenge ever could. What's worse is that you might start misinterpreting that exhaustion. You might think, maybe this just isn't meant for me, or maybe I'm not capable. But the issue isn't your capability, it's your commitment being split. Let's look at another angle. Imagine you're entering a new relationship. You like the person. You see potential. But because of past experiences, you keep a part of yourself guarded. You don't fully open up. You avoid vulnerability. You keep one emotional foot outside the door, just in case things fall apart. Now, from your perspective, you're protecting yourself. But from the other person's perspective, something feels off. They sense hesitation. They feel a lack of depth, and that can create distance, sometimes enough to cause the very outcome you were trying to avoid. So ironically, your attempt to prevent pain can end up creating it. This pattern shows up everywhere. Careers, relationships, personal goals, creative pursuits. It's subtle, but powerful. So what can you do about it? Start by becoming aware of where this is happening in your life. Not in a general sense, but specifically. Where are you holding back just enough to keep yourself safe? Where are you giving effort, but not your full commitment? Maybe it's a goal you've been talking about for years, but haven't fully pursued. Maybe it's a decision you keep postponing. Maybe it's an opportunity you're approaching cautiously instead of wholeheartedly. Pick one area, just one, and ask yourself a simple but uncomfortable question. If I removed my safety net here, how would I show up differently? Would you act faster? Speak more honestly? Take bigger risks? Invest more energy? That answer reveals the gap between where you are and what you're capable of. Now, here's where things get interesting. When you remove the mental escape route, not recklessly, but intentionally, something shifts. Your brain starts reallocating resources. The energy that was being used to manage doubt, to plan exits, to soften potential failure, that energy becomes available for action. Your focus sharpens, your decisions become clearer, your persistence increases. It's not magic, it's alignment. Think about historical moments where people had no choice but to commit fully. Explorers who couldn't turn back, athletes in final moments of competition, individuals who made life-altering decisions with no guarantee of success. In those moments, something powerful happens. Total engagement. There's no half effort, no divided attention. And that level of engagement often leads to breakthroughs. Not because success is guaranteed, but because the conditions for success are finally present. Now, this doesn't mean you should act blindly or ignore reality. Commitment isn't about recklessness. It's about removing the internal contradiction that weakens your effort. You can still plan, you can still think strategically, but there's a difference between strategic thinking and fear-based hesitation. One moves you forward, the other keeps you stuck in place while giving the illusion of progress. Let's bring this back to you. If you're honest, there's probably something in your life right now that you haven't fully committed to. Not because you don't care, but because you care so much that you're afraid of what happens if it doesn't work. That fear is understandable, but it's also costly, because every time you dilute your commitment, you reduce your chances of creating the outcome you want. So here's a challenge, not a dramatic one, but a deliberate one. Choose one goal, one path, one decision, and for a defined period of time, maybe 30 days, maybe 90, commit to it fully. Act as if there is no alternative. Show up with complete focus. Remove the internal narrative of if this fails. Observe what changes, not just externally but internally. Notice your energy, your clarity, your willingness to push through discomfort. You might be surprised by how much progress was being held back by that quiet, hidden hesitation. Because in many cases, the biggest obstacle isn't lack of ability, resources, or opportunity, it's divided intention. And when intention becomes unified, things start to move. Not instantly, not effortlessly, but meaningfully. So if you've been feeling stuck, tired, or like you're putting in effort without seeing results, don't immediately assume you need to work harder. Instead, look at where you might be holding on to the brake. Because sometimes, progress isn't about adding more force, it's about finally letting go.